GLT, my Nifty family. It's your boy Wisp here, coming to you live from my little red caravan on the east coast of Australia. Just a Kiwi boy, trying to make a difference in the world. Today, I'm going to cover very quickly and hopefully efficiently the process that I use to take an asset such as an AI generated asset or a Sketchfab asset or an asset that you have created or downloaded from any other platform from high poly and convert it to a low poly mesh to be used in Nifty Island or other low poly games, reducing the weight, the build weight, and saving you space on your island. Now there are a few things I'm going to cover in this little tutorial. I'm going to try and do it as quick as possible, but basically we're going to cover size, the basic transforms such as size, like rotation, scale, whatever. We're going to be covering the topology, or rather the triangle count, like how heavy a single object is. And we're going to be covering image texture, which is the image that is being laid over these objects. Now you can see these don't have any image texture because they have none. So all of these things matter when you're going to bring them into a low poly environment, right? Get that, just put that deep into the core of your understanding. All of these things matter. Now, in regards to your build weight, which is a limitation that you have on Nifty Island that is placed for your good and all other players' good, so be loving of the build weight. The build weight is directly related to the triangle count in your object. Now, the island load time and the amount of assets that you have to bring into the thing are more. It also really heavily relies on the image texture and what size in pixels your image texture is. So I'm going to try and do my best to explain to you my process on how to reduce the triangle count, reduce the image size, and also perhaps scale your object if you need to. And I'm going to use three references: one from Meshi AI, another from Luma AI, and one that I have hidden here, which is from Sketchfab, which I downloaded as a CC0 item. Now, to explain this first, I'm going to need you all, if you're following along, this is the newest version of Blender. I would really recommend you get Blender if you're going to try and play around with open source 3D software. Blender is just the king, in my opinion. So so this little box here might be showing. So to show this box, and this shows you the triangle count alongside the object count and all of these details. To get that, you come up here and you click statistics. See how I unclick that? So make sure that's on, and then that's going to be able to display the things you need to know. Second of all, I want you to do something, and this is extremely helpful. There's a tool that you're going to use later in this little course, and it has to do with saving image textures, and it's called a GLB texture tools, and it was recommended to me by FoxVN, and it is absolute lifesaver. So I'm going to include the link to that. It is a free tool to download. You can, once you download the zip, you can come over to Edit, Preferences, Install. You find your downloads folder, GLB texture tools. You install that, and then you come over here, and once it's installed, it should come up here. It'll look like this. It'll look like that. And you may need to tick this box. Once it's ticked, then you will have this tool. So those are the two things I want you to do: statistics and GLB texture tool. Now I'm going to try and do my best at explaining weight. Now, using these statistics up here, you can see that if I select this plane, which is a 2D plane, very low triangle count. The amount of triangles in this entire scene is 93,000, which is quite a lot. It's not too bad, but it's quite a lot. Now, you can find the triangle minimum and maximum triangle count in the general creator docs in Nifty Island. Hit anyone up in the Discord, someone will be able to point you there. But in general, remember this: it is a low poly game. Try and get it as close to that as you can. So that's a very low poly. We're going to get rid of this. This is another very low poly object. It now has 12 triangles. That is super light. You could place thousands of them in your game. but that's not what we're going for. Now, 12 triangles. Okay, this next one, let's click this one here. The difference between these two, might seem a little erratic from time to time. If you can tell the difference between these two, I'd be surprised. It takes a trained eye. The difference is that you can see these little harsher edges here. This one is low poly and this one is not. This one is 53,000 triangles and this one is 1,600. The difference visually between them is almost nothing. You would not want to use this in game. You do want to use this in game. Okay. So let's go over to Nifty Island, which is where these came from, and let's quickly run down how to produce a low poly asset to use in Nifty. So over here, I'm going to go to Nifty. This is a text to 3D service, stone statue angel, medieval, right? It spits out something. You then get to refine it if you so wish. You can choose your version. I've refined it. It has popped out here. And I have this angel. Let me just change this quickly. I have this angel here. And it looks good, and I could just download it, right, as my desired thing. I prefer GLB, but a lot of people use FBX or OBJ. I could download that, but it's 53,000 faces or triangles. I don't want that. So let's use this setting over here, mesh settings, and let's take this down. If I go all the way, it's going to look like trash, right? It's all destroyed. So let's go to let's go 0.11, which is pretty low. Now remember, this was 53,000 triangles. It is now 5,800. It's still not as low as the one that I have on in the Blender file, but this is how I got it down lower. So I could just change this lower, apply it, and then download it. Now that's been downloaded, I've effectively saved a massive amount of build weight on my island, and this could happily be placed in Nifty. So let's go back to Blender. So we've done this. As you can see, 53,000, got it down to 1,600. Use that. Okay. Now, oops, sorry. That one. Sometimes I get confused on the keys, and it takes me a little while to. Oops, did it again. Oh God. Okay. Key shortcuts are your friend, and also your biggest enemy. Now these two images, I wonder if you can tell which one is low poly. These are made by using Luma AI, which is similar to Nifty. It's just a different service and they use different algorithms, etc. But it's similar. So this one over here is 7,596 triangles. This one is around 30,000 triangles, right? So it's a substantial difference. To be honest, I don't like these at all. And this is a great example of having an object that you just haven't got good at crafting the prompts for. Go ahead and try it again, but this is just an example of the triangle count and how to change it in Luma. So let's head over to Luma. Here we have the finished piece that I spat out using text. All I've said is a gargoyle statue, right? It spat something else. If I download that, it ends up like a 30 megabyte file, and it has, what was it? 30,000 triangles, which is too many. So let's hit this one, retopologize. Topology is the amount of the way that triangles, I guess, fit together in a map over your object, right? Or rather, the mesh that makes up your object. I've got mine set to low, right? That low is the one that spits out the 7,000 version. If I put that up to high, I think it would be around the 50,000. So I set that to low because it is a low poly game. Okay, and that's how you're getting the low piece to bring into Nifty. So now that we know that, let's get rid of this and let's go to our final example, which is this thing here that I've downloaded from Sketchfab. Now I'm going to turn it on and you're going to be like, what is going on? And that is because this is also too large. So size is also an issue. Okay, before I go through and tell you how I'm going to do this, and we're going to give you the whole lowdown on how to save the textures, and change the triangle count inside of Blender as opposed to inside of the services here, because remember, this is not AI, this was downloaded from Sketchfab. But before we do that, we're going to head over to Sketchfab. We're going to check out this thing that a lot of people seem to go past, and that is the CCO license. This is public domain. This thing is free to download, free to disperse in any way I please. I can come over here, I can do anything I want to this model. Look, let's make it into Pinocchio. Like, I can do whatever I want to this, and I can change it, and I could even sell it in any way I want without mentioning the artist, without breaking any rules. But that's not what we're here to do. We are here to encourage you as people who are enjoying people's creation to come here, check out the licensing, make sure that you are legit, and then also, why not, if you're going to upload something that someone else has made, include the link. This is a sculpture of the bust of Rosa Lowenfeld, made by Virtual Museums of Malopolska. I've downloaded this free 3D model. It's 60,000 triangles, and I downloaded it at its absolute max size, just to give you an example of how powerful GLB Texture Tools is. So we've got an 8K image with 60,000 triangles, and we're going to do our best to try and reduce it in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort, so that you can get your stuff into Nifty without it looking too bad, but also without destroying your island with highly weighted and over textured items. So here we are. We are in object mode. Up here you can use tab to switch between object and edit. So I make sure that the item is selected. I'm going to press N, and it's going to bring up these tools on the side. I click item, and it's going to show us our size. Let's fix this first. Look at that, 500 meters. That's not good. So when I resize, I like to, this may not work for you, but I like to put the geometry in the middle. So object, set origin, origin to geometry. That way when I resize it, it resizes around the middle of the geometry. So I'm going to resize this really a lot. And I'm using S for scale, S to resize, and then I'll press G to grab, Z for the Z axis, and I'm going to drag it to the middle so that it's getting closer to my middle point. I'm going to press S to scale, bring it right down again, and G, Z, and now it's in the middle, and the height of it is around about 2 meters, which is just a bit taller than your average avatar inside of Nifty. Make sure that once you've done that, so I'm going to press N to hide this menu. Make sure that once you've done that, you press Control A, all to apply all transforms, and that way it has set all of the transforms together. That's a very important step, and you should get used to using that often. Now, the triangles, remember how we turned on the statistics? We can see the triangles, 60,000. We don't want that, so we're going to click it, make sure we're in object mode. We're going to press tab to go into edit mode. We press A to select all. We're going to go mesh, clean up, decimate geometry, and click on this little box here before clicking anywhere else. And if you drag this, and note these numbers here, if you drag this all the way to 0, it's going to be destroyed, but it'll be super low poly. So let's go all the way to 0 and then bring it up a little bit. And just have in mind that when you do this with an extremely, like some things have like 500,000 triangles. If you do that and your computer struggles with it, then you might have a problem. Maybe look for another asset. So I'm going to go to 0.1, giving me 6,000 triangles, which from 30,000 I think is pretty decent. It's cut it into a sixth, a little over a sixth, and you can see that it still looks really good. And this you could now use in game, but remember that the material that's being put over the top of it is 8K, and that means it's not going to affect your build weight, but it is going to affect your island load time, and it is going to affect the performance in game. So if you had like 20 of these all over your island, and they were all 8K, sorry, they all had 8K image textures on them, it would just increase your load time and your data usage. And let's be data friendly. Let's try and be as ecologically minded as possible when using the internet. So let's reduce that. So I'm going to press N. Remember how we installed using preferences that GLB texture tool? Well, with down here, if you scroll down, there's this thing, GLB texture tools. While I have my object selected, I can see that these are the images. See how they're not here, and then I click it. It's going to show you all of the images that are linked to the file. Now these are the settings that your conversion settings, and so let's turn this all the way down. Let's say that I only want this 2 meters and I'm happy with it being very low poly and very low texture, and it's just going to be so much easier. If you are doing a big structure, you might not go down to 1000, but let's just go to 1000 for the purpose of this tutorial. So I go 1000 or 1K. JPEG, make sure JPEG is, that's going to save you a lot of weight, or not a lot, it's going to save you a lot of file space, like file weight, let's just call it that. I'm going to click down here on texture settings, go operate on all textures in list, and I'm going to watch these numbers here. Scale image, it's going to go from 8K down to 1K. Not only has it done that, but it's turned this file or the images themselves into less than 250 kilobytes of data. So I have now successfully reduced the size, reduced the triangles, and reduced the file size and the image texture, and it still looks really freaking good. So all I would do now, and this is down to me or down to you, but this is how I like to do it. I would go statue, GLB. I like to export as a GLB because it just works better for me. I just prefer it. And then what you can do, here's a quick little tip: 3dviewer.net. I'm just going to shrink everything a little bit, and I'm going to drag and drop that. Look at my desktop mess. And there you go. You can see it in a 3D space without having to upload it to the Forge and messing up. Now there's a few other things I would do. For example, increase emissions just so it glows a little bit, or play with reflectivity or whatever. But for the most part, you have just successfully reduced everything down to everything in the file effectively and quickly. Not perfectly, because there are way better ways to do this, but effectively and quickly. And you can now put that into a 3D space such as Nifty Island. So go get some stuff. Make sure you respect the creators that create them if you're getting off Sketchfab, and label all your stuff. I have a lot of respect for people that label their things correctly and make it really obvious as to how you created it, or where you got it from, or the artist that you got it from, and supporting those people just by mentioning. So yeah, big love to you all, and if you've got any questions, let me know, hit me up, and if it's not me, just pop it in the Discord, pop it in Nifty Island Discord, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people that will want to help you. So thank you for tuning in, and let's fucking raid, mate. Let's do it. Much love.